Hi, it's Katie Mackenzie, mortgage professional of Mackenzie Mortgage with TMG The Mortgage Group, and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. It's my pleasure to be here with Brenda St, a certified money coach and financial intuitive. She's previously worked as a registered massage therapist, but quickly realized that money and our relationship to it can have a profound impact on our bodies and our lives. She began coaching to this in 2011 and has since graduated from the Money Coaching Institute in California and is now one of over 25 certified money coaches in Canada. She is a contributing author to a best-selling book, an international speaker and workshop leader, currently working towards completing her certified financial planning designation. So I've asked her here today to talk about basically our relationship to money and how that limits us. And so you might be thinking, well, how does that relate to my listeners? Somebody who may or may not have a mortgage, have done a mortgage with me, be thinking about buying. But basically, have you ever said to yourself, well, I can't afford in Vancouver, or I'm never going to be able to afford a single family home in Vancouver? Well, then this episode is for you. So Brenda, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Katie. Thanks so much for having me. This is really exciting.
Thanks. I'm a little bit nervous because, as you said, you've also worked as a voiceover coach. Yeah, a little bit intimidating when all you're listening to is our voices on the podcast, but I'm sure you'll enjoy the show. So tell us a bit more about your background, what I might have missed out, and what you think is important to tell our listeners today.
Well, as a money coach is what my passion is, and that's what I'm doing right now. It's aligned with my mission of what I'd like to create would be healthy relationships with money all over the world. But everything that I've done up until this point has helped me be a better coach, a better speaker, a facilitator. I've been in clown school, actually.
Oh, wow.
And part of that is about creating presence and connection with people and in a playful, really buoyant way.
Yes.
You know, and I think that everything I do, especially with money, has to have a lot of joy and a lot of play and a lot of fun with it, because money can be a really heavy energy.
Yes, it does. It closes people down. It seems like a negative until you get through that first initial stages and talking with a new client, and you get through the sort of the weight of, oh, I have this and I have this. So, okay, yeah, we'll work with that and we'll get you approved. So, but then you move into those better stages of that conversation. So,
and when you were leading with people having the point of view that they can't own a house in Vancouver, like we were talking earlier before we started the podcast about how our points of view and how we limit ourselves by I can't do something. And that often is what happens. Mm-hmm. So, money in particular, I would say is probably the biggest taboo subject. People don't talk about it. Yeah. They just want to kind of like pretend everything's okay, even though they're in debt or they want to own and they feel like they can't. There's like so much connected to it. Like our self-worth is connected to our net worth. There's so many places around how our relationship with money is unexplored. It's like, yeah, it doesn't feel really good, but I don't know what to do about it.
It's interesting too, from my perspective, and seeing, the open book financial piece from everybody's, behind the scenes, is that there's all shapes, sizes, backgrounds.
In a great perspective that you have as a lender, because you're looking at a person from their numbers.
Yes.
Right? You're looking at their profile of how capable they are to own a home, right? And so you're on one side of the perspective, and I'm looking at the person. I eventually look at their numbers, but I look at the person and how they're showing up with their finances. So you could have someone that's very wealthy that functions from that scarcity and lack and, I can't, or I don't have. And then you have someone that has so much debt and they overspend. Everyone's unique and different.
So tell me how clients come to you and what they say in terms of needing help with, and why should someone come and work with you?
There are a couple ways that people work with me too. So they come in different fashions. So I do teach a 3-day intensive seminar where we work with having a stronger relationship with your money, your body, your relationships in your life, being able to talk about money, and knowing how to manage your money. So we bring the practical, the emotional, and the energetic together in 3 intense days where we work on all kinds of stuff. So that is transformative. And most of the people that are drawn to that have some level of personal development. They've done some level of exploration, and they thrive in a group, because a lot of people find that they can transform more with the support of a group.
Yes.
I coach one-on-one clients, which would be people that have that secret thing about money, that they don't want to share it, or they're in a couple and there's a lot of friction going on in the couple because of the relationship with the money in their life.
Yes.
So we'll work with that. So there's a couples therapy, I guess you would call it, on some level, but with money as the focus.
Yes.
I've been a somatic therapist for 20 years, so I work with talk and body. Yes. Related to it. So it's part of my skill set, but I really, really feel that when people come to me and they clean up their money relationship, everything in their life changes.
Yes, absolutely. I've seen that in refinancing clients, and how it just opens up their world to so many different opportunities, not just financially, they feel renewed. Most of our clients that we see have had some sort of financial planning, quote unquote, or they've gone through a cash flow analysis. Here's how you move credit card debt onto line of credit debt to lower interest rates, save money. And yes, these strategies are appropriate, and they can help move people from a position of, not being able to sustain their monthly payments to a little bit easier and eventually paying down debt. But it doesn't touch on that emotional tie. And that's what drew me to you and to ask you to come and be on the podcast, was more of that emotional tie that we have to money, how it's built, how we help people understand what their behaviors are, and also therefore to help them understand that they might be stereotyped or judged based on a relationship with their finances and money, which they shouldn't be. That some of those behaviors that might be commonly thought of as inappropriate are actually okay if it's a healthy relationship for them.
That is, oh my God, you've asked the perfect question. It's so good. And it's so true, because it's like people think a healthy relationship is having a big bank account, or they're saving, or cash flow, or they're investing. Those are the three elements: saving, spending, and investing.
Yeah.
But that's just the surface, right? And you're right, because some people could have many people would judge, like you only buy the most expensive thing, or the label, or all of that. But if someone is in alignment with their values, and they want to buy quality, and they want to buy something that feels good on their body, that lights them up, that makes them feel really good, and they're not going into debt from it, go for it. A lot of times we'll judge people going, oh, you need to be a minimalist, you shouldn't buy all of this stuff. And that might work well for someone that is a minimalist and feels like they want to function in that way. So having a healthy relationship with money is also exploring your own values and what you believe is important to you. And those come from being in this world the way we are. They also can come from our family. Like a lot of the ways of behaviors that we interact with money, when I work with a client, we'll go through their entire money story. So there's often key marking points throughout their lives that have developed where they are right now with their money. Yes. So when we can go back to that one place where they made that really powerful decision that's kind of put a trajectory on them, and we do some healing work around that, things change. But most of the time we don't look at our life through our money story.
No, it's usually like a personal tragedy, a death, or a divorce, or something else.
Which can be related with money.
Correct. But it's more, I would say, primarily emotional first, and you work on that, and then you forget to work on the other piece.
Yeah. But if you can link money with points of view that you create, then you are in the driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat, rather than, because money seems to have like this kind of separation to who we are. Like, if we just had more money, everything would be better. But that's, I don't know how many people I know that have a lot of money and it doesn't make it better.
Yes. There was actually a show, I can't remember the gentleman's name here at the gallery, the Happiness Show, and they actually showed the graph at which point earning another extra dollar, your happiness level starts to slowly taper off and actually decrease. So it was interesting to see the show and explore, that understanding of money, that more isn't necessarily better. A bigger home isn't necessarily better.
Yeah. And that's kind of scary for a lot of people because they think that we're taught, like, how many times do you read online how to make $1 million or work out of your home and make $100,000 a month? Or like, everyone wants that quick windfall, that quick fix. Like 60% of Canadians buy lottery tickets every day.
Every day?
Every day.
I buy it when it gets big, but that's usually it.
But a lot of people, that's their retirement plan.
Yes.
So there's so many ways that we're not relating with money in a healthy way. If we were taught, we're going in lots of different places today because I think it's such a big topic. And I could talk about this forever. But I believe, and if this is helpful for your listeners, I would love to share a broader vision around this, is that if every child was taught about how to manage money, how to relate with money, and how to have money align with your values, by 30, we wouldn't have to work. Like, we could actually leverage our money so that we're getting paid back from our investments if we started at a really young age and understood how the money world works by 30 or 40,
Why aren't we teaching that? I mean, I know we have professionals that go in different programs into schools, such as, say, junior achievement, and we go in and offer our professional advice, at a level to which the age of the children would understand. But why isn't it a better program? Like, why are we not teaching children at a younger age? I mean, we were taught how to do a tax return, and we baked bundt cake, which I remember frying in grade 12. but they didn't teach a relationship. And then, you head off to university. What's the first thing you do? You get a credit card, and you think life is great. Then you rack it to the max, and you screw up your credit for the next 8 years.
Well, I think because no one knows. No one knows how to do it a different way. Yeah. And a lot of the people in the industry that I'm in, there's not a lot of us, but there's a core group of us that are recognizing that there's such a missing piece around understanding how money works. We don't even know how currency works. We don't know how the bank system works. We don't know how does the value of a dollar get created per each country. But we know how to conjugate the verbs. We know how to do multiplication. We know how photosynthesis happens. We know certain things, but the whole financial world, which threads and connects to everyone, some people are like you, are an expert in lending, right? Some people are an expert in stocks. But no one's an expert in all of it.
Correct. I don't think you can be.
But they don't recognize the leverage in all the different areas. You may not be an expert, but to understand it in a much broader way, globally, how the economy works. Yeah. Unless you're an economist, but you usually don't get to be a really great economist until you've gone to school for 20 years.
True. Yeah. But I still think there's more breadth or depth to it when you pull in that emotional tie and why we make the decisions we make. So talk to this process that you talk about with money in terms of confidence, joy, and peace.
So every part of the program that I teach, I separate things into 3 categories. And when we can develop these 3 areas with strength, that's when we actually become a true balanced leader with the finances in our life and our relationship with other people in relationship to money. And the first one is confidence. And it's the ability to ask questions when you don't know.
I find that's the struggle for some people that end up getting referred to me. They've been referred by a friend or a previous client that knows that they can trust me with their friend who's fragile and said, I can't afford, or I've had a bad experience. I worked with somebody that did something wrong. And I'm not going to phone you. And then they do. And they're surprised by how much better they feel once they've made that call, and you answer 2 or 3 small questions that are, the information's readily available, but, they've now had it from a trusted source.
That's beautiful.
Getting those people to make that call.
Yeah. And that's being willing to ask questions of people in finance on how things work, like from the basis of what's a TFSA. Some people don't even know that.
No.
To, how does a mortgage work?
Yeah.
Like, all of those things. That builds confidence. So every time you get more information, you become more confident.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to lead and make choices, and you don't have to rely on someone else who knows more than you, because you start to educate yourself and learn more yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you're not giving your power away from someone that maybe could manipulate you.
Yes.
Because you're educated and. So as soon as you have a lot of confidence, I do a lot of money archetype work. It's the Jungian base. That's like when you step into your warrior. So you're actually, become a warrior with money. And the second element is joy. And I talked a little bit about this. So joy is about enjoying the material world. We live in a material world. It's not about deprivation. Enjoy the fabrics and the food and the cars and all that stuff, but do it in a really conscious way. Not in a guilty way, or I have, you don't. It's
Yes.
like in a very celebratory way.
Yes.
And we're in a physical body, so why not enjoy this physical world, right? Yeah. And I think that gets compromised a lot of times when people budget, and they deny themselves. So
Yes.
then they don't enjoy life anymore.
Yes.
And then there's peace. The peace is the third piece, and this is a byproduct of joy and confidence, but it's also something we can nurture. So it's about learning how to contribute back to the world, having a sense of security. So you have a foundational financial security, so you don't have to freak out. And you also know you are in alignment with different people that have different values in the world, and that we're a global community.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just you by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if everyone was able to see us as all connected, maybe even through money,
Mm-hmm.
like, the whole planet is touched by money. So if we can have a healthy relationship with money, it'll affect everything.
Mm-hmm.
And making really conscious choices on where you spend your money and who you are spending it with, and be a little more ethical with it to see what it's doing. Is it destroying the planet? Is it creating pollution? Is it corrupting certain minority groups? Like, that kind of information is really important too.
Yeah.
So that's part of peace.
So I've seen what I would assume then clients who have no assets but are at peace because they're making all of the decisions consciously that are truly of them and for them. And then I see clients with large portfolios of real estate, other assets, and they're not at peace, and they're striving just for more and more because they haven't found that peace. So would it be right then to say that you may not have all three of these in place, or they ebb and flow as things change in our lives?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I think what happens is the decision or the judgment gets made that it's money that causes them to be anxious and upset and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
When it's not money, money gets a bad rap. We keep thinking money does that
Yeah.
to people, like it makes them greedy or want more. It's not money, but it's how we're relating with it.
Yes.
So you could have someone that's living on $20,000 a year in Vancouver at peace and enjoying their life with no assets, and think that if I had more money, I wouldn't be able to do that. That's not giving yourself a lot of credit to be able to hold that center in the midst, because the impact that people can make on the world is greater when they have more money. So I think that, and we could probably talk about this in another call about our like you were talking about the guy with the happiness quotient, like I think money does create happiness when you have housing. It's not fun if you don't have a house, if you don't have food, if you don't have some of the conveniences. So we relate happiness with our money because it's money that got us there, right? When it's not, it just gives us that. And then we reach to a certain point that the more we have, it's not going to create the same happiness.
Yes.
And it's that bell curve. I think Vicki Robbins wrote Money Life, Your Money Life. And she talks about the bell curve. And when you're at the top, just I think 70,000.
75, I think it was. Yeah.
The only thing that will continue the happiness is contribution.
Sharing. Yes.
Yeah.
So. It's so interesting. Yeah. Because I see so many different clients from so many backgrounds, different countries, different positions in their careers. One thing that sticks with me was a lady I met at a work barbecue, and she had lost her entire life savings. Her business went under, and she had the biggest smile on her face. She just said, "You know what I've learned?" And this was a year after it had happened. She said, "I learned that everything's okay. that I'm okay even with nothing.
That's beautiful.
It was like she had experienced being okay with everything as she saw it, a healthy, wealthy business, but she was also okay with nothing because she was happy with who she was.
Yeah.
So that was the statement. And I it was like I can still see her sitting there, and I was like, that's powerful. And I don't know how many times I've shared that story when working with clients that become, obviously physically upset or, emotional about the position that they're in. You know, there's a lot of judgment on themselves. So
huge judgment with money. But that's beautiful that, you could have that felt sense of that woman recognizing that she's okay no matter what. Yeah.
So what else should people know in terms of working with you and approaching you? I would even struggle, even though I'm in this world and I've got a financial planning background, the lending background, and I've obviously had conversations with financial advisors and other money coaches. Or how would someone approach you to say, I need to work with you? Like, how do they even say it? How do they reach out to you?
Well, I have a 15-minute free consult. It ends up being 30, but and we just talk about where the person is and what I can do to serve them. So it could be coming to a seminar. It could be me doing some one-on-one coaching with them. I do a lot of speaking and education because this work is so new that a lot of people don't even know where to begin with how to create a healthy relationship. And to invest in creating a healthy relationship is like, what? So there's a bit of a way that people have to feel like this is of value to them. This is going to actually transform where they are with money right now. So knowing me, they have to connect with me. And so doing a consult is good because then we can see how it works. I help people do their money management as well. So I would go through all of their stuff and help them set up a system so that they are changing their cash flow and doing what you had said at the beginning, like, making sure
that comes back to your Money Coaches Canada certification.
I'm not certified with Money Coaches Canada.
Oh, okay.
It's Money Coaches Institute of California.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My error, but then you can do both sides of that, which is important.
Yes.
And it's not just
you have to do both sides. You can't just do one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. So how can people reach you, find out more about you online?
You can go to my website at brendastlouis.com, and I have a bunch of events posted on there so you can see what's upcoming. I do a monthly meetup in the city, which is a great way of kind of getting your feet wet around this work. And if you want me to come into your organization to speak to your employees or do lunch and learns or any kind of things like that, I'm always open to educating people on having a different approach to money.
Excellent. So I want to thank you for coming in today. A little bit of a different conversation than we've had on the podcast so far, but one that absolutely interested me when I first met you. So I want to thank you for coming in. I know that there are listeners absolutely that can value from this type of work in their relationship with money and hopefully help them get them into a better space or into a life they want to lead and with me into a home that they want to be in. So thank you again for taking the time to be with us today.
Well, Katie, thanks so much for having me. This was great. And I think if anyone was to work with you, they'd be honored because you are so transparent and open. And that's really good for people that are wanting to own a home.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks again for listening. And until next time, I am Katie Mackenzie with Mackenzie Mortgage at TMG The Mortgage Group and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate.